and welcome to the final video for Chapter 1. Emerging Media Trends. We're talking now about audience segmentation. So mass media, the term mass media has definitely changed in definition because we are decreasing the large chunks of the population and we are segmenting them into more special interest groups. There is definitely more choices. There's perhaps more single-parent homes. People are working longer hours. We have less time to sit and just watch through an entire news program when there might be one or two things that are of interest to us. We want to pick and choose exactly what we watch, and we want to be much more pinpointed in what we are watching. So that has definitely changed the definition. It has fragmented and segmented the way that we consume mass communication. Convergence is another important term. It means coming together or uniting. We talk about it in terms of corporate convergence, which basically used to be called synergy, but it basically means that companies acquire assets that extend the range of their activities. For example, content providers acquire distribution channels. So you're not just making the news and reporting it and sending journalists out, you actually own the station. And that's a really important thing to study in terms of economics and the way that messages are conveyed. Operational convergence has to do with the people themselves and the media that they use. So this occurs when several owners, when owners of several media properties in one market combine their operations. So a newspaper, a website, a local cable news channel might operate a joint news department. So not only do they own the newspaper, but they also own a website. They also have a local cable news channel. They might also own a film company and a television company. So it's not just news, it's entertainment as well. Convergence disadvantages are pretty prevalent. You've got skills convergence, which basically means that you have to have a lot of different people working for you that have a lot of different skills. You have to converge these skills and make sure you know how to do all of them. There are definitely fewer independent sources of information. I have a video coming up about this. Your textbook talks about 50 different conglomerates that own all of the news channels and news stations and entertainment stations. That has been narrowed down even more in the last couple of years, and it's kind of frightening because what does that mean in terms of the kinds of messages that we are getting? Are we getting enough diverse information to be informed and to be well educated? That's a really big question. Employee cutbacks as well. When you converge a lot of these companies, you're not necessarily going to need as many people. All right, here's the video I wanted you to watch. It talks a little bit more about transnational corporations and how these big 50 companies have been narrowed down even more to control the messages that come out of news and entertainment.
In the early 1980s, roughly 50 different companies owned 90% of American media. By 1992, that number had dropped to less than 2 dozen. And in recent years, that same 90% has fallen to just 6 major conglomerates. Although various mergers and layers of external control make this an inexact number, most of the big 6 hold interests in film production, cable and broadcast television, news, sports, music, and online streaming. So who exactly controls the media? As of 2015, the largest media company in the world by revenue is Comcast. According to the SEC, in 2014, they reportedly made nearly $69 billion. Like the other conglomerates, Comcast owns nearly every step in media production and distribution. In fact, Comcast is the single largest cable provider on Earth. Content is created through subsidiaries like NBC Universal, which is then broadcast over TV and the internet through Xfinity. Comcast is also a major internet service provider, covering more than half of all U.S. broadband customers. Even online streaming giant Hulu is jointly owned by 3 of the big 6. The next largest conglomerate is the Walt Disney Company, with reportedly roughly $48 billion in revenue. Disney has holdings in theme parks, movie studios, and diverse television networks such as ABC, A&E, and ESPN. They also own a number of legacy companies like Pixar, Marvel Entertainment, and Lucasfilms of the Star Wars franchise. The third of the big 6 is 21st Century Fox, which emerged in 2013 as a spin-off of Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. Today, Fox makes about $32 billion a year and is predominantly focused on film and television, including Fox News Channel, which made nearly $800 million in ad revenue in 2014. The last independent conglomerate is Time Warner, with revenues of about $27 billion. In the 1990s, they were the largest media company in the world. but an unsuccessful merger with AOL at the peak of the dot-com bubble made them lose nearly $100 billion in 2002. Since then, AOL and Time Inc., as well as Time Warner's entire cable division, have become separate companies. Because they are now unrelated, Time Warner and Time Warner Cable are the 4th and 5th largest media companies in the world, according to Forbes. Finally, the last two are CBS and Viacom. In 2013, they reported about $14 to $15 billion in revenue each. They used to be a single company controlled by National Amusements, a movie theater chain. Today, although they are individually held, National Amusements owners have enough stock in both to effectively dictate control. So in a way, there aren't even 6 conglomerates, but 5. Or maybe there are 7. Some, including Time Warner's former vice chairman Ted Turner, have said media conglomerates have become oligopolies and that they stifle innovation. But others point out that they can also provide a greater global reach for smaller and newer companies. In fact, I work for one of those newer companies, Fusion, which is partially owned by ABC Disney. Check out my mini documentary about independent citizen journalists in Brazil challenging Rio's police brutality. Don't forget to like and subscribe to TestTube News, and make sure to check out my channel, Timcast. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Okay, so that's just one quick summary of what corporate convergence can do. He talked about the advantages and the disadvantages of it. We're still trying to figure all of that out. Let's talk a little bit more about emerging trends. Device convergence is another type of convergence, which basically means you can do lots of different things on your device. You can pull up a website, you can go to YouTube, you can send a text message, you can call somebody, you can take a picture. It goes on and on and on. So websites are trying to figure out how to get to people because they know that a lot of people have handheld devices. There are multiple functions of a single device is the basic definition of that. And obviously this increases audience control. We can be very, very picky about what we watch and when. And there are multiple platforms as well. We might be able to pull things up on a computer and a web and a laptop and a cell phone and a tablet. Another form of this is user-generated content. The guy in the previous video talked about citizen journalism, which is becoming more and more used, not only in news media and entertainment, but also in courtrooms and trial investigations where they are trying to figure out what happened. If somebody has video footage of it, it's a lot more helpful. It has changed the way we think about social justice in a way. Social media, I think you guys all know what this is, but here's the official definition. Online communications using special techniques that involve participation and linkage. This is a great definition that encompasses all of the different things that we have come to see in the last couple of years and all the new trends that are evolving. Facebook, YouTube, traditional media incorporates techniques of social media, such as newspapers that allow readers to make comments online. I was just looking at a place this morning at a Yelp review, right? Businesses have Yelp reviews. That's a really interesting way to do this. So businesses have to tap into this stuff because if they don't, they could have lots of negative reviews out there and people can be reading about their company and they might not even know what people are saying. So if you work for any kind of a business, you have to be tuned in to what is going on social media. So that is the wrap up for the lecture for Chapter 1. You are now ready to take the quiz if you have reviewed the textbook and reviewed these lectures.